What is up, everyone? Crunchy Frog here, and in early 2023 and even before that, there was numerous leaks stating that COD 2023 would just be an expansion of Modern Warfare 2, maybe like a year 2 DLC, so to speak. And for the first time ever in a series, it seemed that we would have a 2-year life cycle of a game. Modern Warfare 2 was always stated in pre-release to, quote, usher in the new age of Call of Duty, and it seemed like it would begin by bucking that annual release schedule that they had established in the past. Now, early fan reception of this news was insanely positive. Everyone was happy to not have to rip another $70 out of their wallets here in the fall. People were also happy that their camo grinding and leveling and unlocking and all that stuff wasn't just going to be in vain after, 9 or 10 months of playing. For the first time in a long time, it actually seemed like Activision execs and the developers finally made a smart decision and listened to the fans. However, with the Microsoft deal kind of teetering on the edge of falling through the entire year, right up until October when it finally got, finished, Activision execs probably panicked and began to demand that Sledgehammer shift their development from making just a simple expansion or year 2 stuff to making a fully fledged quote-unquote premium release that would come out in the fall of this year. Suddenly, the small story expansion had to be marketed as a full game, and the devs had to crunch big time to get all of the content out that they were asked to produce. Now, as you know, that meant that a small story expansion that they were planning on releasing was then flipped on its head to encompass all of the story beats that they wanted to include in the entire, a full game release campaign. And many updates or simple changes that were going to be made to the multiplayer side of things had to then be sold and marketed as brand new mechanics, and I use that term very loosely, and basically just marketed as reasons to buy the game instead of just a little update. And while the devs and Activision remain absolutely steadfast in their public statements that this was always planned as being a premium release, pretty much all of us here in the community know better. Now, with the game not feeling drastically different at all, many in the community have just referred to this as a DLC or Modern Warfare 2.5. Now, of course, some of the COD meat riders have been adamant in stating that this is not, in fact, a DLC, and this is definitely totally a brand new game, one that's definitely worth $70. But today, we'll break down all of the new additions to this year's game to actually decide if it was warranted to be charged for a $70 price tag, or if we should have just gotten an expansion and a nice 2.0 update. So as always, guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like the video and leave a comment. That helps the channel greatly. And if you enjoy content like this and want to see more throughout the life cycle of this year's COD and many years to come, make sure to drop a subscription, join the team here, and stay up to date with all the latest news and controversy surrounding the Call of Duty franchise. So with that all out of the way, let's get right into it. So the first category that I wanted to go over was things that I kind of deemed just update worthy, right? Something that you see like a year 2.0 update, or like the big redesign that happened in World War II, right? During 2017, early 2018, the Sledgehammer devs put out a massive kind of overhaul for a lot of the systems within World War II that made it almost play like a completely different game in some aspects. Especially like the division system and everything like that. So, there has been precedence for this in the past, and these are all the things I think could have just been added as an update. Either, a random patch here or there, or just as a 2.0 kind of a rework update. Keep in mind, some of this, I guess they could have charged for it if they really wanted, but this is all stuff that I felt was easy enough and simple enough to be implemented in a quick patch. Now, first up, obviously, the red dots on the minimap. We have been asking for this for pretty much since the beta of Modern Warfare 2. They have a lot of data stating that the company would love it. It was just one of those things they seemed to want to die on the hill, that red dots on the minimap were bad, and so Infinity Ward refused to take it away. But this couldn't have been that big of a change. Like, I know I'm not a developer by any means, and if you are, chime in the comments section, tell me I'm wrong, but adding those red dots back to the minimap is not a $70 experience. That could have just been rolled out in an update as of January of this year, right? For Season 1 or something like that of Modern Warfare 2. Same to go along with that, the movement changes, right? It's just canceling out some of the movement nerfs that they had done in Modern Warfare 2, And, obviously I've stated my thoughts on movement gremlins and all that in the past, but let's be honest here. Any of the updates that they did make to change it could have just been a simple update. As a matter of fact, they further tweaked the movement after the release of Modern Warfare 3. So I know it's all just a matter of moving some sliders around, canceling out a few, delays or nerfs here and there. And that's all it takes. That could have just been an update, and boom, it could have been Movement 2.0 that was marketed during, the Season 3 Reloaded of Modern Warfare 2 or something like that. It wasn't that drastic of a change. The next up was adding in tax stance. I know they tried to add that as like one of their cool little gimmicks, but again, I think that could have honestly been an update. Now this would have shaded kind of on, I was debating of whether to put this in a different category or not, just because I don't know how much work was done to the engine. But realistically, I think they just use similar code to how you use your gun when you have night vision goggles on. So I don't think it was that big of an update. And definitely not something that, you can market as needing to buy a full game over. So with the amount of work that they put into previous patches, I think they could have added tax stance there, along with the movement changes in a Movement 2.0 update of sorts. Next up is the perk system. Everyone hated the perk system in Modern Warfare 2. I was just kind of indifferent about it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But everyone else seemed to hate it. And so they brought back kind of more of a traditional perk system. I stated in my Modern Warfare 3 review, by the way, check that out on my channel if you haven't already. But in my Modern Warfare 3 review, I talked about how much I like the new perk system. It's kind of a big update, but again, with the World War II overhaul that happened with the division system, this was a similar level change from the weird kind of unlock over time perk system that Modern Warfare 2 had to the new gear-based system that we have here in Modern Warfare 3. I think that's on the same level. So if they were able to do it in 2017, I think they could have put out a similar, perk 2.0 update here in Modern Warfare 2 going forward. Well, what would have been Modern Warfare 2 going forward for its year 2 support. So definitely kind of a big change to the system to get things back on track, but nothing that we haven't seen done in a patch before. Next up is gun balancing. Obviously, that happens all the time. I know there was a big balancing that had to happen whenever they were carrying over the Modern Warfare 2 guns so that they could play in the sandbox with the Modern Warfare 3 guns. Again, I mean, we hit gun balancing every single patch. I think every single update that's happened to COD, the entire way back to 2007 has always included gun nerfs and gun buffs of some sort. So definitely just an update there. The new attachments, one, I don't even think they were necessary to begin with. A lot of the attachments just seem like filler. A couple of the new sights are nice, I guess, stuff like that, but a lot of them are just filler. And even at that, they could have just been added as an update or included with some of the new weapons. Which brings us to our next thing here is the new guns. We've been getting new guns with each season since I think Modern Warfare 2019 was the first game to do it. So for the last 3 or 4 years now, we've been getting new guns with each season. Those are constantly just added as an update or with the seasonal changes. So that did not constitute a brand new game, especially when they still fit in universe. They're still, named the same. Honestly, a lot of them kind of look the same as a lot of the Modern Warfare 2 guns, and some of them are even just brought back from Modern Warfare 2019. Now, I will say that this could be part of the paid expansion and everything like that. That's kind of a candidate. I was wishy-washy on whether to put this with, expansion or just a free update. But I think with pay-to-win mechanics starting to come in of, if some of the new guns were better, that'd be a huge pay-to-win thing. People that had the expansion versus didn't. So I think they would be more likely to add them just as an update like they have been with, Season 7, so to speak, or however they would have panned that out. And obviously the new camo grind could have been instituted the same way. Any new guns that started coming out as of November of this year would have the new camo grind in place, and then all the old guns would keep their old camo grind essentially. So again, not a massive change there, but it would have been a very nice year 2 update. Next up is War Mode. We saw it like Arms Race, which I know isn't exactly like War Mode, but it was like that third mode added to multiplayer back with Vanguard. So I know that they've already been okay with adding modes like this mid-season just with an update. So I think they could have just added War Mode, especially since we only got one map at release. And then obviously the end, some small bug fixes here and there, UI tweaks, things like that. That's all update worthy, right? That's nothing crazy. That's nothing that we've ever had to pay for in the past. So that about rounds out all the things I think should have just been an easy update that they could have released at any point in the last year without having to do anything. And as you know, that takes up a lot of the new stuff that we even got with this game. So next up is everything that I feel they could have put into an expansion or was only worth, that $30 to $40 expansion range in terms of a price point, as opposed to the $70 premium release that we got. Now, please note that almost all these probably also could have been an update, right? COD's been really good with just putting things into updates and being, free updates, so to speak. And we've received similar types of content as some of these things as free updates in the past. But these are the ones that I really figured Activision would try to monetize anyways. And the ones that I felt at least would be fair to monetize. Like if somebody asked me to pay a little bit of money for some of these things, it wouldn't be the end of the world. As opposed to, I hate that somebody asked me to pay $70 for a mini map, so to speak, or movement changes, right? So the first thing in this category is obviously the new maps, right? We got 16 remastered Modern Warfare 2 maps. The original leaks that came out was that the expansion was mainly themed around that, is having all of the Modern Warfare 2 maps just remastered. I think that's a great theme to base your expansion around, bringing in all that old content, remastering it, which they've done a great job at. By the way, you could tell some love was poured into these maps. And I think that would have been great for, again, packaged with some of the other things I'm about to mention, would have been a great way to spend $30, $35, $40, something like that. Next up, again, I talked about this up there. I could see them maybe including the guns because we did get 36 guns all at once. Now, again, that does not mean they're 36 unique guns. I mean, we have stuff like the Striker and then the Striker 9, which is literally could have just been an attachment. But regardless, we got 36 brand new weapons to grind camos for and grind levels for, etc., etc. That is actually a lot of content when you look at an update side of things. Obviously, it's a little middle of the road, maybe towards the lower half for a brand new release. But if you were to treat this as an expansion or just a little update, that's a fairly significant amount of content when you look at it through that lens. So aside from worrying about pay-to-win concerns, I could definitely see Activision maybe charging for these, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Next up, obviously the biggest one here, and this is really the one that I think would be most worth buying, is the new story continuation. Now, I am mad that they tried to jam an entire full-length story, something that probably could have been really good and tied up a lot of loose ends, no pun intended, in the true Modern Warfare 3 or whatever you want to call it, that they kind of jammed it into the small amount of dev time that they had to make a 3, maybe 4-hour campaign. If you listen to some of the leaks, some of the Bloomberg articles that have come out since then, they originally just started as like a small story expansion, like continuation thing set in Mexico. So it would have just been kind of like a Modern Warfare 2.5, like in the middle kind of story, which I think would have been really, really great. And again, would have been worth shelling out, just 30 or 40 bucks for to get some additional story beats and information and background on characters maybe that we didn't have before while we awaited the true Modern Warfare 3 in a couple of years. And, that would have been just so much better than trying to cram that big story down into 3 hours and having it really miss the mark. I mean, the story got one of the worst reviewed campaigns in COD history, and for good reason. If they were able to do it properly and treat it like an expansion, it probably would have been way, way better. Next up is Zombies. Now, I was kind of torn on this because this also could have very well been just an update for DMZ. We've seen them add zombies throughout the season of, I think Modern Warfare 2019 did it whenever they were slowly getting closer and closer to Cold War. Zombies have just been added in everywhere all the time, even in multiplayer and stuff like that for several years now. So I kind of felt maybe it could have been just an update, especially since it's just on the Warzone map. But I feel like they added enough that maybe I could see them trying to make a buck off of it, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Wouldn't be completely unfriendly to the consumer for them to do. But at the end of the day, like I said, this could also go in the above category and just been an update for DMZ, or call it DMZ 2.0, and this time zombies are in it. and maybe even have both modes running in parallel, so to speak. But either way, next up and last on this list is the new operators. Now, again, we've gotten operators just in seasonal updates for 3 or 4 years now. The only thing that made me kind of put it here was that they released 25 new ones all at once. Now, a lot of these are just filler, and, they're just trying to bolster their rank, which is hard to make this list because, so much of this stuff was only added as filler so that they could try and justify a $70 price tag. Because we didn't need 25 brand new operators, especially when no one's probably using them since they all bought Nicki Minaj or 21 Savage anyways. But at the end of the day, there was a considerable amount added all at once, and I could definitely see them saying, hey, in Modern Warfare 2, the, Makarov Strikes Back Year 2 expansion, whatever they would have named it, right? They could have, included those 25 operators and, told you that you were getting a nice bang for your buck, something like that. Again, could have been added, but with so many at one time, assuming that they weren't all filler and they were going to be added either way, I think that could have been in the expansion category. Now, that pretty much covers every new thing they added, so you're probably wondering, well, what would have gone here? What would have constituted what we typically think of as a new $70 or in the past $60 release? Typically, obviously, there's new graphics. Now, obviously, COD doesn't change drastically year over year, but every year they improve and refine that engine a little bit, and maybe they have a slightly different art style, so it makes certain aspects of the graphics engine pop or whatever, and there was none here. Honestly, as you know, it looks identical, if not maybe even a little worse in some spots than Modern Warfare 2. So it looks identical. If you showed somebody gameplay from this year and you showed somebody gameplay from just the Modern Warfare 2, they would think it was the exact same game, and that much more so than all of the other games in the past. Next up, obviously, is the full-fledged campaign that we're used to, right? The 6 to 8 hours. I think one of the campaigns was even closer to 9 hours. That has a little more of a fleshed-out storyline, not as rushed, things like that. This one was 3 to 4 hours, and obviously a lot of that was even padded out with kind of those open world missions and reusing Warzone assets, and you could tell it did not have even an eighth of the care taken to it that a typical COD campaign would bring. And typically with those campaigns, you get a whole new story, maybe a new time period, a new theme, just something to differentiate it from, at the very least, what happened the year before, right? If you look at the Golden Age, we went from COD 4, which was the first Modern Warfare game. Then we went back to World War II. Then we went back to the modern setting, but it felt completely brand new with how much they've changed. And then they jumped back to the Cold War with Black Ops, and then we hop back to modern, and you know what I mean. Every year was kind of different. It differentiated itself from what you've been playing for the last 10 months, and that bled over into the multiplayer and kind of just the theme of the game overall. And again, that wasn't here. This is physically identical to the exact same game we've been playing for the last 10 or 12 months here, in terms of theme, in terms of, setting and time period and overall just feeling of the game, literally identical. The next is, usually they try to bring in a brand new gimmick or a big system that they want to make it feel brand new to the series. Usually it's year after year. Stuff like whenever they finally brought in kill streak customization, and then they tried the COD points with gambling in Black Ops 1, and then there was the hero ability years and the jetpack years and stuff like that. Typically every year they try to bring something brand new. They brought in the gunsmith system, and then all the systems that they tried to change up when Modern Warfare 2 dropped last year, and there was just nothing brand new or crazy that they've added that really felt I guess the biggest thing would be the tax stance, but that is so minor compared to a lot of the big changes that they've tried to do before. The perk system isn't that much different than perks that we've had in the past, so that's not a huge departure in any way, shape, or form. War mode, again, that's kind of neat, but that's also been done before. With honestly a little more fanfare and different stuff than this war mode got. As much as I love war mode, this still isn't even, that different to make the game stand out as the last war mode was. So without any of that stuff that typically goes into a game feeling brand new, I gotta say, this definitely should have been an expansion. Half of the stuff that we got that's brand new, quote unquote, marketed as brand new, I should say, could have just been an update, right? A year 2.0, like I talked about, Movement 2.0, Perks 2.0, stuff like that. They could have just been an update. Everything I listed could have just been in patch notes. And then the other half of the stuff that we got that was marketed as new could have just been, it's not $70 worth of content, right? Maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 45 if we're really stretching it, just because the price of everything these days is crazy. But nothing that was added at all constitutes like, oh, well, this had to be a new game. They had to put out a new game to give you this stuff. No. No, and especially nowadays with games as a service models and everything like that, just everything could have been an update or a tiny bit of money. And then obviously the next point being that, they're already bringing back a lot of Modern Warfare 2 stuff, right? We already have some maps coming back. We carried forward all the guns already, all the operators already, stuff like that. I think shipment's even supposed to be here like next week, even ahead of those other 4 maps that are coming, stuff like that. So it's just they're already bringing back everything in Modern Warfare 2. I'm assuming here in a month or two, the games are going to be fully combined. It's just going to be one experience once again, which might be what the devs are working towards, but it doesn't mean you had to spend $70 to get all that new stuff by any means. And then, like we talked about, obviously, all the UI is pretty much the same, right? The graphics, the core gameplay mechanics, everything is just the same as Modern Warfare 2. It's more refined. Again, I talk about in my Modern Warfare 3 review that this all feels like a much more boiled down, refined, version of Modern Warfare 2, but it's still Modern Warfare 2 at its core. And then everything that was added has been done before in season in one way or another, with the exception of the story expansion. So whether or not I deemed it worthy of being, a paid expansion, or whether I deemed it worthy of just an update, we've seen all of this stuff been given to us for free at one point or another in season updates or, patch notes, stuff like that. None of this is new. If you look at the difference between Black Ops 1 and Modern Warfare 2, the old Modern Warfare 2, much different. 2 different experiences. They definitely were worth spending at the time $60 for each of those experiences separately. This, absolutely not. To give my final thoughts, I think this should have been a big update that everyone got some of the stuff, right? Everything that I listed as an update should have come to everyone. And then, if they wanted to get some money, a $30 to $45 expansion, depending on how they shook that out, that would include stuff like the new maps and maybe some zombie stuff and operators, things like that. And we would just still be rolling under the name Modern Warfare 2 the whole way up until Treyarch's release later in 2024. So that about wraps up, guys. Make sure to head down in the comment section below. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Do you think this was worthy of being called a DLC for Modern Warfare 2? Or do you think that this has enough legs to stand on its own as a full premium release? Let me know your favorite things that were added this year. And let me know some stuff that you really wish they had not added. Once again, let me know in that comment section below. I'll be replying to everyone. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. And once again, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and definitely make sure you're subscribed to hear more videos like this one coming at you soon. So until next time, guys, have a good one.